Good evening and welcome to another edition of Warrior TV. My name's Adam, the host of the Mental Health Warriors, and we are here live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and the Mental Health Warrior page. And tonight, something I've been looking forward to all week is Mental Health Warriors and the Campfire project emerging. So, firstly, I'm going to introduce my co-host, the human GPS, Kerry Burr. Hello,
Hey.
Kerry. How are you?
Hi, Adam. Good, thanks. Are you?
I am fine. I'm absolutely brilliant.
Excellent.
And already, Kerry Deval's already commented. So she's already saying hi. Please share the hell out of this. And what better? We can't wait now. We got to bring them in, don't we?
Absolutely.
We've got to bring them in. Let's bring them in.
Let's do it.
Bring them in. Here they come. The three of the four Campfire project admins. How are we?
Pretty good, thanks.
Yeah. And obviously, firstly, I'm actually going to give my sympathy to Kim Dunlop. She's supposed to be here tonight. I hope she gets really better soon. I really do, all from my ear. So I'm going to start with a quick 5 questions for you all, just to get the mood going. And I'm actually going to start with Angela because it's her very first time on Warrior TV. So I'm going to say, does pineapple belong on pizza?
Depends whether you like it or not.
Do you?
Sometimes not. I don't know.
Scott?
It depends.
Scott, what about you?
It definitely belongs on pizza.
Kerry?
Absolutely.
Alan?
No.
See, me and Alan's for. Me and Alan. There you go.
You're just saying that to be controversial.
I don't know. I don't like pineapple. I do not like pineapple.
Okay. See, I like it sometimes and sometimes I don't. Depends on what else is on the pizza.
Okay. Then I'm going to say, are we night owl or early birds?
Early bird.
Scott?
Early bird.
Kerry?
I'm much more of a night owl, to be honest.
Alan?
Early bird, but then in the afternoon I sag a little bit, but then I wake up again in the evening. So it's a bit of both.
Did you?
Well, you don't sleep.
Sing? You sing?
No, I sag, I settle down in the afternoon, start to fall asleep, and then about 9 o'clock I wake up again.
I actually thought you said you sung, but oh well. Maybe if you want to get a song, go for it.
I don't sing. If I sing, everybody bans me. So even my kids banned me from singing in the shower. They could hear it in the house, and they just went, "Turn it off."
Aw.
Okay, all right.
I was told not to give up my day job.
Right. Do you prefer summer or winter?
Definitely summer.
Depends where. Oh, really? I mean, winter in Queensland, wonderful. Summer, summer in other places, Europe, yes, absolutely. Winter,
Our winter is atrocious here, isn't it, Kerry?
Well, it can be, but then so can our summers.
Yeah, it gets too hot. It really does. We're supposed to have a thunderstorm tonight.
Are you?
Yeah, it's not arrived though. Rain has.
No.
Oh, well.
I think because we're such a, I suppose because we're quite a small island, I suppose, aren't we? And it can get quite humid when it does get hot, but then, equally get to the point we've had it in July. We've had both extremes in July where it's been far too hot 1 minute, and then you're looking at needing to put the central heating on the next minute.
Yeah.
You can't win.
My final one: cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Dogs.
Well, I like both. I have dogs, but I cats and dogs. Well, these dogs with cats is not a good mix.
Well, cats just have servants. Yeah,
Very true.
dogs, to tell you the truth.
Very true.
See,
Yeah.
last time we actually asked Kerry that, it was actually my wife Kerry that asked that to Kerry. He said dogs, but because she's a cat lady, yeah, I think she's just saying cats just to please Kerry. Do you not think? I don't know. So, let's talk about the campfire, the invention of it. So I know Alan met Scott quite a while back. Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about you meeting each other.
Do you want to tell them about that one, Scott?
I'll start, and then you can complete it with the. Like, it's an interesting scenario, Adam, and I really appreciate you bringing it up because it's actually a really important thing. I went to a course to learn to grow. I worked at that time of my life. I was working with Sunday Sessions, which was a mental health group for men, and I needed to learn how to speak properly. I needed to learn how to present. So I went to a presentation course. How well am I doing this morning? Presentation course, and I got to present to Alan, and it was the first time I was presenting my story about my life.
Yeah.
I happened to be sitting opposite Alan Stevens, who I sat there and looked at, and actually said to him, I said, I don't think there's anything I'm going to say that you want to hear. And he sat there and looked at me. Go on then.
Did not say a word, blank look, didn't change my expression at all. And I watched him start to get a bit sweaty, shaky, standing there, and he had to wait for some time before he was able to start speaking because I was setting the room up at the time. And then he started telling his story. And again, I gave him no expression. I thought I'll just, he's going to judge me. I'll let him sit in this. At the end of it, he had to stand there for a bit longer to before he could give his before I could give my critique, because there was a whole group of people in the room doing the same thing. And then when I was able to give the talk, by this stage, his knees are shaking. His whole body's trembling. The water underneath his armpits, it was coming down off the side of his face. And I just went, wow, that's the best story I've ever heard. And I think my words were to you after that, don't judge a book by its cover unless you can read through the cover like I can. That was how we started it. And that was after that. I'd already started the Campfire project, and I thought, right, I had to get Scott into the group to share his story in there as well, because I thought his background, his life, what he had to offer, and the man he is, I needed to have him in the Campfire project.
Absolutely.
I just want to confirm that was probably one of the most nerve-wracking things I've ever done, to actually learn to present me. And since that day, since I've owned me, things have really grown. So it's worth stepping out of your comfort zone to know who you are and work on it. So thank you.
Yeah. So even though things have grown, every time you jump on the camera with Alan, Scott, do you still get those nerves?
Nah, Papa Smurf, I'm fine now. Like, he's all good. But I look at it. It's funny. Last night I went to set up for Sunday, which was an opportunity which is actually part of the Campfire project. We're running from James Short and I are running from Sydney to Melbourne. And because of COVID, we've had to pivot. So I went and tried out a venue last night. And I walked into the venue and I set up and I was nervous again. And I was just setting up. I'm like, I haven't done this before. I don't know if it's going to work. But here's the thing. I'm going to have a crack. Okay? Because that's where the growth comes in, and that's what the Campfire, sorry, I'm just going to take over for a little bit and also, but that's what the Campfire has been. Like, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to work, learn, own me, listen to people, ask questions I need to have in life so that I can actually grow, pass on that knowledge, test it out. I can actually go to the Campfire project. I can go in there with, does size matter? And ask Angela, what does it feel like to have a penis inside you, right?
That was the warm-up question.
Yeah, well, of course, right? But to sit there and ask that question, it's a question that started a conversation that educated me on the importance of emotional connection.
Mm.
Where do we have that safety? Where do we have that safety to be able to do that? Campfire projects is where we have that safety.
That's true.
Imagine a life where we're free to ask the questions we need to ask.
Yeah.
I don't imagine it. I live it.
Mm.
Yeah. We've actually got a couple of comments. Kerry's put, talking to you, Scott, has helped me come out of my shell a bit more.
And so I'm going to grab that right there because I'm really super proud of Kerry.
Me too.
But there was something that I hope I'm not stepping out of line here, but Kerry's come on as the mental health warrior's wife, and I noticed she's that here.
Yeah.
But she's Kerry Javel.
Yeah.
And I wanted to learn who Kerry was. That was more important. Now, that's what the Campfire Project's about, learning who you are. You with us, so then we can work together to create a much better community. And it's a global community. It's not an insular community. It's global. So,
absolutely. Yeah. And also next comment is Auntie Shazza's here. Auntie Shazza. Yeah, she's commented as the mental health warriors. Obviously, she helps us run that page, which is doing phenomenal. So all I'm going to do is pass it over to Kerry Burr, see if she wants to ask anything.
Well, my big question was going to be to ask you to tell me more about the Campfire project. You know, what was it originally set up for, and how do you help others moving forward with it?
Yeah, well, as you all know, I'm a profiler by profession, so I teach people how to read other people more effectively. And I found that, especially talking to men, they found that they didn't know their role at home, because they thought, well, my job is to go out, provide for the family, and then they were being told, you're emotionally absent or you're physically absent. And so they said, we can't be in two places at once, and that was causing frustration. But at the same time, with all the gender equality and all the quotas and other things, we found that the men were confused as well in that area, because the way we used to speak in the workplace with other guys, you can be rough, we can talk in any way and it'd be water off a duck's back. But now we had to be very careful. And a lot of guys were second guessing what they were saying. And so therefore that was causing them angst as well. Now, when men get frustrated, that can lead to anger, and it can also then lead to violence as well. And so I realised that we needed a safe place for men to be able to come along and tell their stories, where somebody would just hold their space, not give them advice, not try and counsel them or anything else, not judge them, but just allow them to speak. But I've always had women in there from day one. And the reason for that was so that the women could hear how men could speak when they felt safe to do so. But at the same time, for the men not to, it's like going to a motivational seminar and then going home all hyped up and everything, and then everyone telling you it's not going to work. And I could see that happening by being in just a men's group, leaving there and then going back to the real world, so to speak, and being, all of a sudden going, I've got to get back to the men's group again. And that's what we do with motivational seminars. We just keep going back like junkies. And so I realised by having the women there, the men would then finally realise, because if they'd looked at the membership, they would have seen the women's names, but nobody really looked. And so they opened up, told their stories. And once we brought them into the panel discussions, that was when the ladies were sending me a personal message going, never heard men talk this way before. We love it. Can we get involved? And that's what I was waiting for. So as soon as they put their hands up, people like Angela and Karen Chasen and others came in straight away and joined in the one-on-ones, then joined in the panel discussions. And I was just doing a tally recently. We've had over 280 one-on-ones. We've had over 140 panel discussions. The ones that, first of all, there's about 100 or so that I've done, and then Scott was doing a few in there, and then we brought it up to Scott doing lives on a Thursday night. And then Angela's really stepped up as well. And thank you, Angela. She's doing one-on-one. She's doing panel discussions, because this is the process of the Campfire project is not my baby. It's not my tribe. It's our community. And as Scott said, it's a global community. My attitude to it was, okay, I built the bus. I've been driving the bus, but now I'm getting into the passenger seat. And I got these wonderful people that you see in front of you here, plus others who are now stepping up and driving the bus. And the best place to sit in any bus is in the passenger seat, right up the front, where you can see the view and everything else that's going on, because you don't have to just look straight in front of you. You can look around and you can have faith in the person driving the bus. So to everybody who's here today, and also the members of the Campfire Project, thank you very much, because the Campfire Project is what it is because of everybody who's in there. So thank you.
Amazing. Yeah. I think it's something that that the world is lacking quite a bit at the moment. Is a safe space, a safe place for people to just be who they are, in particular men. I really do believe that, yeah.
Well, the oldest person I've interviewed in there has been 99 years old, and the youngest one to actually step up and run an interview was Scott's son, Oscar, who was 9 years old at the time. And my passion is to get those two people, and Scott's son now is 10 years old, and Ted, who's about to become 100 in November. I want to get the two of them on screen together, because 90 years between the two of them, I reckon the conversation would be absolutely magic.
Yeah.
Fabulous. It really would. Yeah. Oh, I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, so do I. So do I. But seriously, Alan, you're living up to your nickname, Papa Smurf, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, this is why I stay away from winter, because I turn blue. I like it nice and warm. Because as we know,
who gave you that nickname, though? Who gave it you?
Who gave it to me? Just look down on the screen.
Oh, yeah. I mean, rightly so, right? Rightly so. Like, it's Papa Smurf is the wise one in the village that everyone goes to sit and talk and understand things. He builds his community. He looks after his community. He ensures that things happen. He gives people space to breathe. You know, last year I had something happen that was a pretty big deal, and it took a lot out of me. I mean, here I was doing everything I could in the Campfire project, and I needed some space. It was there. And I think that's the thing that I love most about the Campfire project. You know, like, it's not, everyone understands we're all busy, we're all living, we're all doing our best right now. Sometimes people just need a bit of space just to work through some things so that we can get on to the next thing. Like, we started the year a little bit quiet, and we've built back into it because we didn't know exactly what was going on. Sometimes it's best not to say anything, you know?
Absolutely.
So if it's okay, I'd really like to hear from Angela, because Angela is probably one of the most amazing women I've been lucky to have in my life, because the amount of times that Angela sat with me and held me accountable to life inside panels has been amazing. And just the brutal, not brutal, that's the wrong word to use, but the absolute honesty of which her heart hits the table is stunning. So I'm going to go into presenter mode, but Angela, what's the Campfire mean to you?
It's a place where I feel at home. It's a place where I connect with people like you and like Alan, and, you know, it's family. I mean, Alan and I are having Zoom dinner tomorrow night, you know, and then I know that, you know, you and I are going to catch up at some point and we're going to talk about stuff. We are having virtual dinner on Sunday with Smiles for Miles on Sunday. So, and we're always having the discussions are not like, you know, what's the weather like? Even if it's, you know, you checking in and saying, how are you? It's not the, oh yeah, the weather's great and let's just get on with. There's always substance in the conversations. There's always connection. There's always, as you call it, growth. And for me, there's always food for thought. When we have panel discussions, I mean, I work mostly from home by myself. Most of my work is online. And with my clients, I'm often the one who listens. And so having conversations where I can actually say, oh, by the way, and and this is what's been going on for me, and like share that and have a voice, but also process what's going on and take my thinking and my emotions to the next level. That's so important to me. Because growth is one of my core needs. I could not imagine my life without constantly growing. And Alan and I've talked about that. The day I stop learning is the day I die. And this is a place where I feel there's respect. We can all have different opinions.
Yeah.
We can agree to disagree, but it never comes from a place of but it's always an appreciation for the other person. And that's something that Alan has done from day one. If you set the guidelines and created a space where it's for me, this is the community I've always looked for. Was that long enough an answer?
It's beautiful, because that's what it is about. Like, it's life in itself it's a precious gift. And we all get different opportunities in life, and when we share those opportunities, we all get to grow. Like, Adam, since I first met you, you've grown exponentially, but I think it's more because you've been able to listen to other people.
Yeah.
And I think that's been the biggest key to all of these conversations. Like, I'm talking a bit today, but normally I like to sit back and just listen, because that's where we get the growth.
It is. Yeah. Because obviously I remember my very first podcast interview with Alan as soon as I jumped into the Campfire project, because I was in the group almost a year before I actually said, right, I want to tell my story. And obviously, Alan, you can resume how anxious I was. I was shitting myself.
See, this is the thing, even now, after all the interviews I've done, I'm very mindful of the people that I'm going to be talking to. So believe it or not, I'm nervous every time I do an interview, because the responsibility to hold someone's space, because that's what it's all about. What you do for yourself dies with you, but what you do for others and for the community isn't always will be eternal. And having that responsibility, the Campfire project, all the one-on-one interviews don't go out the Campfire project. If somebody wants a copy of their own, yep, I'll give it to them. But we won't put it out because it's an absolute responsibility to protect everybody in there. And we know the world's full of a lot of trolls out there. And, people who are unhappy in their life, and that's why they attack other people to feel better about themselves. So I generally feel sorry for them, but I'm not going to give them access to, having a shot at anybody in there. So I hold it as a deep responsibility that I've got to look after everybody in there. And so when I sit down to hear someone's story, I want to make sure that it's as comfortable a place as possible for them to be able to do that. Because if they feel, any angst with it, they're not going to be able to open up. They're not going to be able to get that full benefit of telling their story. And so, I'm very mindful of making sure that space is there for them.
Yeah. See, obviously, before Kerry actually was interviewed by Scott on Campfire last week, it was, wasn't it? Yeah. Obviously, she was telling me all week, I'm nervous. I don't know. Like, she was having doubts. And you know what? I'm going to have to give a massive shout out to her, because I am really proud of her, because she was shitting herself. She's had the interview. She's felt better. And now, obviously, I know that she's got a copy of that interview. She's now published it on Warrior TV on YouTube. Just like that. So, yeah, I am really proud of her.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Sorry, Scott, go ahead.
No, so am I. I'm really proud of it, because I think the hardest thing to own is yourself. And to sit there with Kerry, and I'm sorry to talk out of school, Kerry, but half an hour before, we sat and reworked the bio, and we came from you. And I'm really proud of you for that. I'm really proud of you for stepping more into being you. Because it's a hard thing to do at times. I'm really proud of you, Kerry.
Yeah, she obviously put thanks in the comments. So yeah, it's. I want to talk about you, Angela, about what interest did you have in getting your involvement within the Campfire project? Like, what was your reaction and response to when you was interviewed for the very first time?
Oh God, that's so long ago. We've had so many other conversations since. The reason I wanted to become part of the Campfire project was because the topics that Alan was putting forward about men and women and, you know, helping men. I mean, part of the mission is also helping men grow up and have the conversations that they normally wouldn't have. And I have been working in emotional intelligence and working with people for over 25 years. And I've always felt like the lone, I'm not a warrior, but, you know.
You are. You are.
Okay, well, the lone warrior. Okay, let's go with that. Yeah. Who was just plowing forward and just going, you know, emotional intelligence is much more than group hugs. Emotional intelligence has nothing to do with group hugs. It is about recognizing your emotions, making friends with the so-called negative emotions, utilizing them in such a way that you can benefit from them. And, you know, the basic life skills that we are supposed to absorb through the pores as we go through life. And being in a place where people were actually interested in having discussions about that was like, oh, yes, please. I really want to be part of that conversation. So when Alan and I spoke, and it was like, I actually have a space to express what's important to me, because my background is I come from a very dysfunctional family. And, you know, I've always felt that I had to do my growth. I raised myself, basically. And being with people who appreciate that, you know, you can actually, I don't like the word heal yourself, because we're whole already, but where you can recover whatever, you know, you've given away. And I can support people in doing that as well, not by lecturing or anything, but just by showing up and having these meaningful discussions means the world to me.
Brilliant. And also, Sharon's actually put a comment: the Campfire project and the mental health warriors are changing the conversation and helping the collective. Yeah, because we've only been going just over a year. Just over a year. And I didn't even know it was a year. I didn't know. Time flies when you're having fun.
Well, time does go quickly, because the Campfire project, the 13th of August will be the 3-year anniversary of our very first interview going online.
Congratulations.
Fabulous.
It's been brilliant.
Okay. Is somebody ringing?
No, that was a reminder for me.
Okay.
Sorry. I've got a new computer and I haven't managed to turn off all the alarms yet.
Go on, Kerry. You can say something.
You don't want to know the issues I've had with Zoom today, honestly.
I'm just going to jump in for a sec. Have a look at this. We're all over the world.
Yeah.
Having conversations, which we're all growing from. This opportunity called COVID has made us more insular at home. It hasn't. It's given us an opportunity to do more conferencing, get our voice out all over the world.
Yeah. Have
conversations that we need to have. I think right now we're in probably the most beautiful time of life and existence the human race has had. I see life as we've learned what physical pain is, and we can see that But emotional pain is something we can't see. It's something we've just been able to feel and not understood. Because we are able to have these conversations and share our stories in safe places, mental health community, Campfire community. Yeah, we're able to really take on life. You know, we're sitting here. I'm no different to Angela. I'm a square peg, round hole. You know, and how does that fit? Where do I fit? I've had to go to a global community in order to find a place where I'm safe enough to be me. Yeah, I think we're in a very lucky time in life.
Well, if I pick up on that metaphor, it's the Campfire Project is a community that has a hole that's big enough to fit all the squares and all the round shapes and all the triangles and everything.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful part of it. When people come in and tell their stories, I know they're nervous when they first do it, but as we find that every one of them have said at the end of it, well, I've actually told you more than I was going to tell you, but they felt free. And by the way, if anybody who's listening, you can come in and join us in the Campfire Project. You can just sit in the background. When you're ready, you can put your hand up and go in for a one-on-one. When we do the one-on-one, by the way, they're never done live. They're always recorded. And the reason for recording them is that you can then tell your story. And if at the end of it, you go, I've said something in there I don't really want other people to hear, we delete it. And people go, but do we waste our time in doing that? No, our job was to hold your space so that you could tell your story. We've done that. If we put it into the Campfire Project for other people to hear it, then that's a bonus. And when it goes in and other people can hear it, they can pick up from that as well. And if you're a coach and telling your story, it also gives you an opportunity to show your credibility. And a lot of members who have come in who are coaches have picked up clients as well. So they've been able to help other people in the Campfire Project. And the connections that we've got, I saw it as being a connection between all the other groups. And that's why I love the fact that we're connected with with this group. We're connected now with Mentoring Men, a whole bunch of other groups, Save 5 Alive, and also just started with Safe Men as well. So that's a new one that's coming up. And Angela and I are both on the working party for that, steering committee for that. So all these groups are coming together. So we're creating a global community, not just within the Campfire Project, but between all the other groups as well. And as Scott has said, and Angela said, it's through the conversations and the willingness to open up that we've been able to do that. And we're at that time now when people really want to talk. COVID, I don't think I've ever been more social than since COVID started. And I've spoken to so many people I never would have spoken to before. So there's an upside and a downside to everything. It depends on where you look as to what you get.
Absolutely. I've got to agree. I think, if it hadn't been for COVID, if it hadn't been for all the lockdowns, I doubt very much any of us would have ever met, or at least we wouldn't have met as soon as we have. The opportunities that we've all had to help people in our own ways, perhaps wouldn't have come quite so quickly or in the ways that they have done. Like you were saying, Scott, here we are. We're in completely different parts of the world.
Yeah.
The world, not just the country, the world.
Yeah.
It's, what is it, 7:30 in the morning for you guys? And it's 10:30 in the evening for us here. I do apologise if I look like I need matchsticks. But
here we go.
But yeah, I think it's absolutely amazing, and it is so important, probably more now than any time ever before, for people to know that they have that safe place where they can literally be themselves. And find themselves and do that completely without judgment. It's a very judgmental world that we live in right now, more so than, well, for a long time at least. So yeah, so important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can you grab that comment from Sharon Arnie Shows? Can you pop that comment up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because like it's interesting, right? COVID is hard. COVID's really hard. And a lot of people are really hurting from it. Now I've got a really close mate who's in pest solutions. And with restaurants, like we've had 5 lockdowns now in Melbourne. And at the drop of a hat, they've got all this food, they've got all their bookings. The entertainment industry trying to organise something now. They're so sick of booking things. A lot of businesses just closed down because it just takes up so much time. You know, there is a lot of pain inside this. But our biggest growth comes from our biggest pains. As a society right now, we need to look at what's important. We need to be brave enough to have those conversations. What is it we really want? What is it we really need? Grab a mate, grab their hands, support them. You know, and Auntie Shaz, I love you with all my heart. You got my back. You know, and I think that's what this is about. You know, this connection to reconnect. People are supporting people like they haven't done for a long time.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know. So thank you, Auntie Shaz.
Exactly. And I know I've seen some of your lives, Scott, where you have been on and you was practically almost crying because you're that down. And I thought, I'm going to reach out to him. And that's what I did. I asked you if he was okay. Because that's what it's all about.
We all have dark days, Adam.
We do.
Right. And it's funny because I learnt the story of these socks when I met Alan. I was trying to put into words these socks. These socks aren't just any socks. You know, they're the business to smile socks. Those black dots, they represent our dark days. We all have them. No one's getting out of that. That yellow, you know, that beautiful warm winter sunshine on your back? That's our community getting around you in the dark days. On screen now, we're all living this. We're living it. Yeah, and look at the support. Look at we're in COVID. We're here, we're holding each other's hand, we're talking.
I can imagine Kerry Bear wearing those socks now.
I was just thinking to myself, I need to get myself a pair of those socks.
www.ihopeyouaresmiling.com.
Awesome.
Get on board. We've got a dinner this Sunday night. Actually, you guys in the UK, you're more than welcome to buy a ticket. It's breakfast time. Come and have breakfast with us Aussies. All right? You sent us over here. We're doing all right. You can cash in and join us for a beautiful meal. Well, you'll have your own meal because you have to cook it yourself. It's a virtual dinner. But we're here to create smiles. You know, there's another gentleman from, and I'm sorry to go over this, but it's all sort of relevant.
Yeah.
Jack Levi, part of the Campfire project, who I met inside the Campfire project, came on, did an interview. Didn't exactly know what the Campfire was about. He's back, and I've been talking to him, and now he's helping me with the business of smiles because he's so passionate about mental health. Yeah. So his little bit that he didn't quite know has turned out to be so much more, and it's stunning. And that's consistently the business of smiles started because of the Campfire project. A guy I have never ever met, only virtually. We're running from Sydney to Melbourne, which is roughly from Land's End to John O'Groats, right? So that's the length of your country, right?
Yeah.
Because of the Campfire. Because we've got a community of people that support one another. Just grab each other's hand. Hey, mate, I got you. Hey, mate, I got you. Let's do this together. How cool is that? So anyway, I'll shut up for a bit because I'll talk now.
No, I think that's absolutely awesome. I really do. Really do.
It is.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm going to ask you all. Scott, you asked me many times. I'm going to ask you now. What does mental health mean to you?
I love this, Adam, because I still think that you and I came up with the best ever opportunity around what does mental health mean.
Yeah.
The thoughts that control the way we think and act.
You stole that off me. No, you didn't.
No, well, that's the whole point.
Exactly, yeah.
When you and I sat down and tried to work that out,
2 hours.
it was a difficult opportunity. What does mental health mean?
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think we give it enough credence, that simple question. Because we're all talking about mental health, but it's an overview. We've got to get the context out of it. We've got to understand it. And there's no one part of mental health that is going to fix anything. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned from being a part of the Campfire project, from doing these conversations, from being part of the Business Smiles. There's so many areas to your mental health. So you've got to try different things consistently. So then you can find different answers and then take them into other communities and pop them in there. And then you get their opportunities and you share it and you grow and then you take it back. And that's like, yeah. So what does mental health mean to me? It's what controls the way you think and act.
Act and behave.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly, Kerry. We shared our combined knowledge. That's what we did. What does it mean to you, Angela?
So mental health is the ability to utilize, to utilize tools to manage my thinking and my emotions. And it's also the ability to ask for help if need be, because a lot of people think that health means, you never have to ask for help. You just keep plowing on. It means being vulnerable as well, to say, I'm not, I need support right now. I think that's a really big aspect of mental health. And it starts with recognizing how I feel and then being able to manage that.
I love it. What about you, Alan?
Well, I think those two descriptions that probably cover it very well. It's very much a case of, as I see it, when people do step up, being vulnerable takes a lot of strength. And the people who are vulnerable are the most courageous. But when they do step up, they find that life becomes different straight away. As everybody who's stepped forward and told their stories have been, they've challenged themselves to do it. They felt challenged when they've actually spoken. But when they're finished, it's like a weight's been taken off their shoulders. So it's very much the action that we take that starts to curb it. I won't give another description to it because I think both Scott and Angela put it extremely well. Yeah. But from that point, even if you haven't worked out the description for yourself, it's taking those steps to move forward and knowing that you don't have to do it alone. There are plenty of other people out there. If you came in and had to listen to all the one-on-ones, as I said, there's over 280 of them in the Campfire project. You'll see commonalities in a lot of them. There might be different stories, but the stresses and the things that people have felt, there's a commonality there. And when you realise that, you realise that you're not alone. And that's one of the things. It's not so much the definition I look at, but how to have that wellness, that strong mental health. Yeah. That's where I think it's in that action. So be afraid if you like. And that's just part of a natural thing, because when you do feel afraid and you do step up and you do speak, you'll just find that the impression you have of yourself, the feeling you have of yourself will just escalate. And it's in the conversations you have with people that you can actually let that stuff go. And realising that in every aspect of life, there's always an upside and a downside of everything. And so it depends on where you look for that solution. And I always look around the people that I've got around me, and it just makes my life so much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Kerry? Have you got something to add?
Well, I tend to look at mental health. We've all got mental health, the same way as we've all got physical health. And I was having a similar conversation with somebody a bit earlier. I find it very interesting how we're people are quite ready to post pictures of their meals. They're quite happy to shout about the fact that they've just accomplished the Couch to 5K challenge, or they've tripped and fallen and broken an ankle or a wrist or something, or they've got a bruise because they've been pulled over by the dog whilst they've been out walking, anything like that. People are very, very ready and upfront about talking about their physical health. But people are far, far less happy talking about, or comfortable, I should say, talking about their mental health. We all have it. We all have that mental health. To me is everything. It's how we are every single second of every single minute of every single hour of every single day. And it determines how we are right the way through. We can wake up and we can feel absolutely on top of the world. We're not necessarily going to feel on top of the world and have that mindset to go with it consistently throughout that day. We're going to have peaks and troughs and experience all kinds of different things. And that's part of being human.
Yeah.
What I think is important as far as mental health is concerned is, and Alan, you touched on it just now, it's about having that mindfulness, being mindful, being aware, being consciously aware of our thoughts, which, as you said, Scott, they are the things that cause us to act and behave the way that we do. Unless, of course, we are aware of them and we can go, whoa, hang on a minute. That's not a great thought. Perhaps I won't act on that one. And by having some degree of control over our thoughts, essentially, we can have a degree of control over our feelings as well as our behaviour, obviously. So, to me, mental health is not about just about being diagnosed as having depression or bipolar or any other so-called mental health condition. It's about being aware of what we're thinking, how we're feeling, how are we responding to those? Are we reacting or are we acting appropriately? Are we behaving for our benefit? Or is it just that we're feeling angry, so we've got to get something off our chest and, we'll shout at somebody or,
Yeah. So I see mental health as a line, and we travel backwards and forwards on it. So we're always on that line, but we're at different points. It's a little bit like a seesaw going up and down. But also when we have other people with us on that end, pulls it in and holds it stable. And so if we want to stay in that positive end of that continuum, that line, is by having those people around us. So we used to say we don't talk about sex, we don't talk about politics, and we don't talk about money. Well, these days we do talk about politics. And yes, Scott, Angela, we do talk about sex. So we've gone into those areas. But the money is one area, and also mental health is the other. They're the two. And there's a lot of our mental health issues, breakups in families and everything else, are around money as well. So we really need to talk about both mental health and also talk about money because they're so connected. And I think when we're able to do that, and that becomes more commonplace, then the stigmas that we have around both will start to disappear. And I think it's by having conversations is the best way to deal with this.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, this is why my certificate has actually arrived today. of my completion for the Understanding Children and Young People's Mental Health.
Oh,
Because what our mission is getting into schools and talk about it to the kids. That's our mission. Because I think the schools of today, they don't have that proper understanding when it comes to mental health. They don't.
I always remember reading about this when there was an ad, I think it was, when and Carrie was saying people share on social media that they've broken a leg. And that's perfectly okay. And they get a lot of empathy. People saying, oh, that must be terrible. And, you know, strength and healing so that you can recover very quickly. But when somebody says, I'm having a really low day, it's the equivalent of saying, people come back with comments, that's the equivalent of saying to somebody who's broken a leg, oh, don't worry, it's going to go away. Just keep walking. It's going to heal by itself. Don't just ignore the pain. It's just, you know, it's just a broken leg. You'll get over it. And with mental health, we do the same thing. We just say, you'll snap out of it, you know. We just...
Sorry, I was just going to say that there's one phrase, I don't know if it's used where you guys are, but there's one phrase that has been used a lot over here, and it's man up. And you think, really? That's not going to help.
You know, I'm going to put Dorota's comment on because I think we all should need to look at that. It's that about mental health.
Yeah. Just quickly, though, on that comment you made about the man up, I do use that term now in a different way, though. Man up and tell people, talk, be vulnerable. That's the real way to man up.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree. Totally. Yeah. It's
definitely.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with manning up. I think it's more important we define what good men are. If we can define what good men are, then we can man up. And that's what it comes down to. And I just want to grab a little something that you said before, Kerry, that, you know, and I really appreciate this because it's really just, I don't know what it was exactly that grabbed me, but I worked very hard on my physical health in order to keep myself in shape. In order to have financial health, you have to work at it. In order to have good mental health, you need to work at it. Health comes from action. That's when we start doing things for our mental health, we free up the space that is just so at capacity at the moment for everybody because of the uncertainty and the opportunities. It's the most valuable real estate we own. What actions are we taking to make sure our investment is working? You know, I'd love for people to, you know, I've done this for my mental health this week. I had this conversation, which has helped my mental health this week. I listened to this conversation this week, which I took this away, which has helped me with my mental health. But I've gone and done some bicep curls and I've built some muscle. You know?
That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Terry.
Pleasure. I mean, essentially, the two are linked, aren't they? Your mental health and your physical health are linked. You know, if your mental health is in need of a little bit of attention, it's quite likely that you're going to feel that physically as well. Equally, if you can get yourself out there and actually do that physical exercise, not only is it going to make you feel better physically, it'll help you feel better mentally as well. It's amazing, absolutely fascinating the way we work. It really is. But going on to Dorota's comment there, she's absolutely right. It does mean something different to each of us because of our individual experiences. You know, we have our own models of the world, our own versions of the truth, what's real to us.
Exactly. And that's what I love when people come together and they talk about their versions of it. We get a better understanding. We get a bigger understanding of our own situation. We get a bigger understanding of other people. And in doing that, we come closer together. And,
Definitely.
as you said, our physiology and neurology are linked, our physical body and our mental thoughts. You can't have one good without the other one as well. Yes, you can have a fit body, but it's not going to stay that way because, I worked out for a long time. I had a pretty good physique when I was younger, but I wasn't working on my emotional aspect. And now I've got joints and other problems in my body that really remind me not so much of, the strain I put my body through physically, but the fact that I've actually didn't take care of my mental state at the time because my working out was in opposition to my mental state.
Yeah.
That's why I was working out. So you got to get the two in line.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was
on that. I'm sorry, I'm going to grab that because that's bang on, right? You put on weight if you don't work on yourself physically. Emotionally, how much weight do you carry?
Mm.
And the one thing sorry, Angela, come.
No, you go.
Okay, so the one thing I'm talking a lot about these days is what's your return on emotion, right? And it's the energy you carry and the weight that you drop on people.
Mm.
And generally, it's in the people we love most because that's where we're safest. And that's the one thing for me that I really want to see worked on, but we don't have time today. But that's a whole other conversation. So, but I'm going to jump back into sorry, but just how much emotional weight are you carrying? How much luggage you walk around with? Because if you move it, so I was going to go there, but so I'm running from John O'Groats to Land's End, right? So the amount of emotional weight I've been able to release by working on the relationship with my father, who's my support group, I won't be carrying that on the run. Freeze my headspace up so I can create a new narrative.
Yeah.
Okay? So, yeah. Anyway, I'll jump. Sorry, Angela.
No, I just wanted to say that I like the metaphor of having an internal toxin vat. And what we do is we put all of the emotions in there, the ones that we're not supposed to feel because we're supposed to be fine. And you know what fine stands for, right? Fucked up, irrational, neurotic, emotionally unavailable. So if I'm fine and I take all of my emotions and I just put them into this toxin vat, it's going to fill up. And at some point, it's going to be full. And as you just said, Scott, it's the people that are around us, our nearest and dearest, that we feel the safest with to let that go. Nobody has ever said to me, what happens when that toxin vat is full? Nobody says, oh, it gently drips down the sides. No, it explodes.
Yeah.
And that's yeah. And so it's even more than weight. It becomes really dangerous to ourselves and to other people. And for me, the importance of mental health means to detox on a regular basis. And that's where other people can help. And it doesn't mean that we give them the responsibility, but we ask them for support.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to do this live. I've got to take Oscar to school. It's 8 o'clock.
Yeah, it's absolutely fine.
But can I just finish on one thing and then let you guys finish it? Can I just say thank you to everybody? I want to say thank you for doing your best. In a tough time right now, I really want to thank you. I just want you to know that nobody's ever made a decision to make a wrong decision. Only we get new information do we realise that we can improve it. Yeah. So be kind to each other. All right. I hope you are smiling. All right. Sorry to run, but I'm super daddy.
You have a great day, Scott.
All right, take care.
Cheers, Scott.
Bye, Scott.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you. Bye, Angela.
Bye, Scott.
Absolutely. Yeah, but yeah, that's how it is because obviously with me, I don't have parents in my life. No more. They're alive, but I don't have them in my life because of what trauma they put me through. But that doesn't mean I've forgotten it, but I've grown since. Because now I've created my own family to protect. And that, what better is that?
That's right.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, for each of you, last question. If you see someone with mental health, but they don't understand it, what piece of advice would you give them? I'll start with you, Kerry.
So somebody who's got mental health issues.
Yeah, but they don't understand it.
They don't understand it. Okay. So I would. So when I had I had a nervous breakdown several years ago. I was in an abusive relationship. By the time I'd finished having the assessments, I was diagnosed as being severely depressed, whatever severely depressed is. And I think at that time, all I wanted was for somebody to put their arm around me and say to me, do you know what? I'm here for you. I've got you. You can do this, you know? Because I did go through a time where I kind of felt numb. I couldn't be bothered with anything. Didn't want to know. And there was a couple of occasions where, you know, I thought that actually, do you know what? It would be so much easier for all concerned if I wasn't here anymore. You know, what kind of life do I have? What am I putting them through? But I didn't have that one person that just put their arm around me and said, you know what, I'm here. And, you know, you've got this. We can do this. I'll help you. Nobody did that. And I think for somebody with issues that severe, that bad, that deep, I would like to know that I'd like to think that I would do that for them and just say, do you know what? I've got you. You're not on your own and you can do this.
Absolutely. Angela?
Well, pretty much what Carrie was just saying from another perspective. I would not give advice. Because if somebody doesn't have any awareness of what's going on, advice is going to come from a really wrong place, because it comes from you're not good enough, or you don't know, or whatever it might be, however the person may perceive that. I think when somebody has mental health issues, the best we can do is listen.
Yeah.
Sit down with them, saying, here's a cup of tea, talk to me about what's going on. And then shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Also, before I get to Alan, Sharon Chamello, she put, "Oh, Kerry Bay, now I am crying again."
Oh, bless you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she put, "Amazing to see where you've come from to here. We all need those people." Absolutely.
We do.
We love our Shazza. So, Alan.
Yeah, well, before I answer that question, just on the fact of the comments that are being made, if people realise that they are not alone, because Auntie Shaz and others are making these comments that are showing that there are people there for you.
Yeah.
Like Angela, as you said, first of all, Adam, you know, what advice? And as Angela has said, wouldn't give advice. Your advice is really just your opinion. And just like opinions, everyone's got one, just like they've got backsides. You know, the whole fact is that we've all got an opinion, but it's based on our reality, not the other person's reality. So taking a stance where you're going to do something, where you're going to direct them or anything else, that's just ego. And generally it comes from a place of where I want to tell somebody else what to do because I'm not taking the time to tell myself what I should be doing. And so we're putting it on to the other person. But as you've said, it's holding that space. That's what we've done in the Campfire project. We have sat there with people who are able to tell their stories. You'll notice that I might sit there for half an hour and haven't said anything in an interview, simply because the person wanted to tell their story. Me interrupting only throws them off that story. They need to be able to express it in the way that they need to express it. And that's the thing, is just holding that person's space. If after talking for a while, if I've been through something similar, I can say that, yes, well, I went through this myself and this is what I found. So it's giving that approach of, I know how you feel. I felt the same way. This is what I've found. But it's only if I've actually been through something like that. If I haven't, then it's a case of they're actually asking me, well, what should I do? I go, well, I've never been in that situation. But can I ask you, would this work? So I'm not giving it as advice. I'm giving it as a question that then starts more conversation, because it's not that statement I've made that gives the answer. It's a conversation that follows after that. And the person takes ownership of it because it's their answer.
Yeah.
Everybody knows. When I'm talking to people and they go, I don't know, I got a really stupid question. And that is, well, if you did know, what do you reckon it would be? Because that stimulates the brain to start thinking. So any advice has got to come from the person themselves. Our job is to hold that space and facilitate in a way in which they're able to do that. And that shows compassion. And in a lot of cases, we don't want to hear somebody's stuff. This is where emotional empathy comes in. Well, first, cognitive, I can see that you're in pain. Emotional, I can feel your pain. But most people then want to give advice because they don't want to feel the pain that they're feeling themselves from what the person's been saying. Compassionate empathy is the next level. And that is where I can see your pain, I can feel your pain. But hey, let's sit down and let's work through this together. And the person who's doing all the talking and the advice and everything else is the person who's going through the pain, and they find their own solution. And the number of people who have done their one-on-ones with us, and at the end of it, they're going, oh my God, I talked about more than I ever thought I would actually mention. And my God, that took a weight off my shoulders.
Yes.
And we've done it by not talking. As Angela said, listening. Remember, we've got one mouth and two ears, but we also have two eyes. Use them in that proportion. Listen to the person, take in and watch what's going on, pick up all the non-verbals and everything else, pick up where they're telling you one thing, but the non-verbals are telling you something else, because there'll be some direction in there. Then you can ask questions around that, get them talking, and they will steer themselves to their own answers if you ask the right questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. And as Sharon said, let's work together. No, let's work through this together. Perfect. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So all I've got to say is thanks, guys, for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation. This has been brilliant. I've really enjoyed it, as I always do.
You're most welcome.
It's been awesome, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks to everyone that's tuned in. Obviously, if it's replay, #replay. Let's get this shared. I know Alan's going to put it in the Campfire probably on LinkedIn. I don't know. All I've got to say is, please tune in tomorrow, because that's it now. No podcast for me for a week. Don't need to look at my ugly mug. But Kerry's back in the morning, so yeah. You probably need a gallon of that, won't you?
Quite probably. I'm on the decaf at the minute.
Oh, that's so good.
Me too.
Oh, bless you.
So
caffeine
Angela,
and I don't have a good relationship.
Oh.
Yeah.
So Angela, how was your first experience on Warrior TV?
Wonderful. I mean, it's the reason why the Campfire Project and the Mental Health Warrior Project are joined is because the values are very, very much aligned. So this is the kind of conversation we have in the Campfire. So it feels very, very familiar in the nicest sense of the word. Family.
We need to bring you on for a one-on-one, because Alan's been on, Scott's been on, Shaz has been on. We need to bring you on now.
Sure, when you're back.
Absolutely right. I'm going to end this podcast now. Please share this, guys, and I'll see you again. Bye.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.